let's get into our next topic here. Now, Jerry Jones has an interesting quote here talking about how on 96.7 The Ticket about the Cowboys offense in 2023. The offense is Dak-friendly. He's going to have more opportunities to dump the ball off to the backs. He's going to have less to do before the snap and less to read after the snap. The receivers are going to be less dependent upon reading the D-back and Dak reading the D-back. It's going to be more about being at a spot where they should be. And once again, that's Jerry Jones talking about the Cowboys offense entering 2023. So I want to know, who's on the hotter seat? Is it all on Dak Prescott, or is it all on head coach Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, well, how do you, first, before I answer that, how do you take that quote from Jerry Jones? Or what does that mean? What does you think that says about what he thinks about Dak Prescott? Does he think he's a dumbbell?
3 words. Dumbing it down.
Dumbing it down.
This is going to be a
he thinks Dak is a dumbbell.
Super simplistic offense, like he said. Let's bring up the quote again. Super simplistic offense. Dak-friendly. Have more opportunities to dump the ball to the backs. He's going to have less to do before the snap. And less to read after the snap.
I don't think he should ever have said that. He should never have said that. That
Jerry
makes
Jones.
This is Dak Prescott.
I mean,
Jerry Jones, he is a general manager.
Are going to be
general
less
manager. The Cowboys they've never made it to the Super Bowl with him as a general manager.
Right? It's been, 30, 20, I don't even know how long it's
since
been.
Jimmy,
multiple decades since they made the Super Bowl.
Was it Jimmy Johnson got them there and won it 3 times. And then there's one other coach, I can't think of his name, that made it once. And then since then, that was years ago. Years and years and years ago. They haven't done much. They haven't made it to the Super Bowl.
Are you talking about a coach?
The coach, I'm trying to think of what his name was. It escapes me.
Well, the coach for the last Super Bowl win, the Dallas Cowboys, was Barry Switzer.
Yeah, Barry Switzer. Yeah,
that was the last.
Yeah, that was the last time, and that was right. That was like 1 year after
1995.
After Jimmy Johnson left.
2 years.
2 years after that. Yeah, so
1995 was the last time they made the Super Bowl.
1995.
Last time they made and won.
That's a long time ago.
30. We're getting close to 30 years now.
Jerry's not getting any younger. I think he ought to hand off the general manager role to somebody else, and I don't think he should be saying stuff like that to his about his quarterback. Dak-friendly. It means Dak's a dumbbell.
Basically, like I said, dumbing it down.
They can dumb it down so he won't make any mistakes. He just hands it off or throws it to a spot.
So I'm going to ask you, who's on the hotter seat, Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott?
Well, that's a tough question. I think they both have a lot of pressure on them. McCarthy, because if they don't win a lot, if they don't get deep into the playoffs this year, I think McCarthy will be fired.
Really?
I do. I think so. I mean, he has to win at least one playoff game and be competitive in the second one, I think. Even if they lose that, they might hang on to him. But if he doesn't make the playoffs, they're firing him, that's for sure. And I think he has more pressure on himself than he did last year because he's taken on more control, right? He's taken on the offensive coordinator role. And if Dak Prescott doesn't perform well in that, they're going to blame him. Partially anyway. And then Dak Prescott, I mean, he didn't get it done under Jason Garrett either. He hasn't got it done under Mike McCarthy or this other Kellen Moore, the other offensive coordinator. So he made last year. I don't dislike Dak Prescott, but he threw a lot of interceptions last year, and he did beat the Bucs in the first game of the playoffs. But the Bucs were only half of the team they were in the past. So in the second playoff game, he didn't do well.
I want to say this. I think you're down. Dak Prescott crushed the Bucs. I think he had 5 touchdowns. It was a blowout.
But we knew the Bucs weren't going to win that game.
I know. I think you picked him just out of Tom Brady. He might have one last spark.
I did pick them because I like Tom Brady.
But we're talking about like this. This was basically like a public execution for Tom. It was an axe to Brady's head at the end of his career. Like it was pretty bad. But and you talked about him throwing. He literally threw the game away against the 49ers. Literally threw it away. He had an opportunity after opportunity. Brock Purdy wasn't playing that great. The Cowboys defense was doing their job, held this team that was averaging 30-plus points, late in the season with Brock Purdy to 19 points. And you, who in the past couple seasons, even though Brady threw for 5,300 yards, you averaged the most points per game in the NFL the past couple seasons. And you put up 12 points against this team. And Dak literally, like I said, threw the game away. He had, two very bad interceptions. They weren't even like, oh my God, tips or close calls. These are just bad.
Yeah.
And
they're going to turn him into a dink and dunk guy. He's not going to throw the ball down the field very far. They're going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to count on the defense. And they're going to let him. He's not going to be the one that's going to lose the games for them. That's where they're headed. They're going to take. They gave Mike McCarthy more control, and they're taking control away from Dak Prescott.
Right.
That's what they're doing, and I don't know how Dak probably feels about that, particularly with what Jerry Jones said about him.
Yeah. Well, for some people saying, Mike McCarthy's not a great head coach. He should get fired. Whatever.
I don't dislike him that much either. I mean, he's okay.
And I'm going to show you.
He won a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl. I'm going to do something that I've done a couple times. I did it Jalen Hurts versus Josh Allen. I did it a couple times. But I think we need to give a little bit more respect to Mike McCarthy. And so I've put together a, would you rather Mike McCarthy edition. So these are, I didn't just pick random coaches I didn't just choose random coaches out the NFL. These are actually well-respected coaches throughout the league. So I want to do the first one.
Oh, my God.
Would you rather Mike McCarthy or option B? Mike McCarthy, better win percentage, more division titles, more conference championship appearances, same amount of Super Bowl appearances and titles. So who would you rather have, Mike McCarthy or option B?
Well, in this case, Mike McCarthy's won more games. Right. He's won 5 to 8 more games than this other coach and lost 2 fewer. He's got more division. He's got 7 division titles. This coach only got 4. He's what's the CCG? What's that stand for?
Conference championship appearances.
4 against 3, and 1 Super Bowl appearance, and he won the Super Bowl he was in. So you got to say Mike McCarthy is a hair above this coach.
So you would choose Mike McCarthy over John Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a surprise, actually, isn't it?
That's why it's so.
But you know what? John Harbaugh has not done that well in the last 7 or 8 years.
Right.
He has not done very well. I mean, he's had a competitive team, but he hasn't gotten to the playoffs much.
Yeah.
Right.
And
he hasn't won any. When he got there, he hasn't.
Right.
He hasn't gotten any wins. So
yeah.
He's since he won the Super Bowl, right, with Joe Flacco. It's been downhill for him a little bit.
It has been.
Yeah.
It has been. All right, let's go to the next part here. So, would you rather? Mike McCarthy edition number 2. So, once again, very similar wins. Mike McCarthy has coached more games there. Same amount of division titles, 1 more conference championship appearance, same amount of Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl wins.
I'm going to take the mystery coach.
You're taking the mystery coach.
Yeah.
Then you would take Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would take that.
I think I would in that case.
I think it's very, very close if you were to take Sean Payton.
Sean Payton has got a little more creativity on the offensive side of the ball.
I'll give you that.
Mike McCarthy. Yeah.
But the fact that
and he's gotten better performance out of his quarterbacks than Mike McCarthy because he did have Drew Brees as a Hall of Famer.
Well, Mike McCarthy also had Aaron Rodgers. You also have to say that.
That's true. But he won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and so did
Peyton.
Yeah.
But then Peyton also had Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, and those guys played well under him.
And then Mike McCarthy did. I would put Dak Prescott over every single one of those quarterbacks. But you know what? I don't know what we're gonna see for Sean Payton this year. But let's get into our next. Would you rather Mike McCarthy or a head coach with about what 8 more wins, 4 more losses, same amount of ties, same amount of division titles, 1 less conference championship appearance, 1 more Super Bowl appearance, but the same amount of Super Bowl titles. Would you rather option A or option B?
I'm going to take option B.
Then you would be taking Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I understand Mike Tomlin is a respected coach. But when we're talking, this is simply it's a Greg Popovich. It's now a Bill Belichick. It's whenever you're done, you're done. We don't expect to win with you. We don't expect you to come in here and save our franchise anymore. We don't expect you to coach up a Super Bowl winning team. Would we like that? Of course. But you're a well-respected coach. You're just here to the end of your career. I'm not yes, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, but they've never been, uber successful. I mean, as soon as he lost Big Ben, it was, we talk about drop-off here. You haven't got the offensive line right. Your running game should be good with Najee Harris. Kenny Pickett seems like a competent quarterback. instead of Mason Rudolph or whoever the hell you also got behind him. You know, you have George Pickens, who's, mossing people, mossing Joey Porter on the defensive side in practice. This team is promising, but when you go up against the rest of the teams, the AFC, or hell, even in the NFL, including the NFC, I don't know where exactly I would put the Steelers among NFL teams. I don't think it would be incredibly high. I think it would be above average, but I would say barely. But I do think it's close. But personally, that one Super Bowl appearance, that one extra Super Bowl appearance, I think is enough for me to at least make it very, very, very close between Mike McCarthy and
He's got more wins and fewer losses.
Less big.
They got the same number of ties.
So yeah, they do have the same amount of ties. But the fact that it's close, and Mike McCarthy, we've heard him.
It is close, but you know what? That says, you know what? I think it says a lot for Mike McCarthy that he's very close to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a good coach.
He's a well-respected coach.
Very highly regarded. You are
not hearing anyone
He's never had a losing season.
Yeah, no,
never had a losing season.
But what I'm saying is, like, you're not hearing people, go after Mike Tomlin with pitchforks and torches, saying fire him. Yet Mike McCarthy after last season was like, "Is it the coach? Should we get rid of the coach? Is Mike McCarthy going to get fired? Should Mike McCarthy get fired?" We're not hearing that, and yet it's combo with and we have one more. I believe this is the last one. So, we have, 6 more wins, but also...
a lot more losses.
15 more losses, 1 less tie.
Yeah.
1 less division title, 2 less conference championship appearance, but 1 more Super Bowl appearance, same amount of Super Bowl wins. Who would you rather choose, Mike McCarthy or option B, the mystery head coach?
2 Super Bowl appearances compared to 1. Getting to the Super Bowl is what it's all about. I'm taking the option B.
Then you'd be taking Pete Carroll. Which, once again, I don't know at face value. I would take straight up.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll has not got... The offensive line's improving, not great.
Pete Carroll has defining...
Running game is not good.
Pete Carroll's defining moment was the interception by Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He never should have called that play. He'll always be remembered for that. Sometimes people have defining moments in their coaching and playing career. That's his, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And in the past 7 years, we're talking about a defensive head coach. They were never top 10 in defense in the past 7 years. Multiple years, however, they were bottom 10 in defense.
Mm-hmm. So, now that I see who it is, I think I should have taken McCarthy.
Well, that's the great thing about this mystery head coach list. Would you rather? So, I mean, we've taken a look at that. I think we need to put a little bit more respect on McCarthy's name a little bit.
I think you're right. I don't dislike Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I'm not saying, oh my God, phenomenal coach, all time. I mean, is he an all-time good coach? Yeah, he's won a Super Bowl. He's coached a great quarterback. But to say, to fire him after, 3 seasons with the Cowboys, and it wasn't entirely his fault. Did he have one bad play call against the 49ers a couple years ago, where apparently it was a designed QB draw with 17 seconds left? That was bad.
They played very poorly in that game. It's like they didn't have an offensive scheme. They didn't know what they were doing on offense in that game.
I think if you had a few more seconds, it would have been smart.
He had a lot of criticism in that game.
He
never came alive until right at the end there, and then they had that play where Dak Prescott ran and ran out of time.
Right,
he ran out of time.
but to say that he should get fired when they've literally scored the most points in the entire NFL, more than the Bills, Eagles at the time, Bucks, Chiefs in the entire NFL. Hold on. Take a pause for a second. This is a high-flying offense. This should be a well-respected offense. This team has some talent. Now, honestly, Dak Prescott played 11 games last season and had the most turnovers in the NFL. I mean, you can't have that and say that it's your head coach's fault. No, it's your quarterback being a klutz, and that's why Jerry Jones is coming out and saying, basically, we need to dumb it down. We got to basically simplify it and say, people are going to be in certain spots, just throw it to them. We're going to try to, make this easy. You don't got to worry about, post-snap looking. Don't worry about pre-snap. Just we're going to have set play. It's essentially risk-free. Dak Prescott should tone it down the turnovers. And you know what? We could see potentially them resort to a sort of old-style offense that Bill Belichick may run, or I expect him to run, running game and heavy defense. Now, the Cowboys have the heavy defense, but is Tony Pollard and was his Deuce Vaughn, the 5'5" running back? They're going to be the dynamic 1-2.
Deuce Vaughn?
Yeah, thunder and lightning dynamic duo in the backfield. I'm not entirely sure, but I do expect Dak Prescott, we're going to see not a regression, more so a restriction on what he's going to be doing. And we already sort of see effects on why Jerry Jones may say that. He's thrown 6 interceptions in training camp so far. And they haven't been good. They haven't been close. They've been under throws. What the hell are you looking at throws? I mean,
who's their backup quarterback? They still have that guy.
I think it's Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush.
I think it's still Cooper Rush.
He actually has a pretty good record as a starter.
No, he was undefeated almost.
Yeah, well, he lost one there.
Yeah,
right before Dak came back.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm just saying, Dak has to dumb it down. And I think Jerry Jones saying that, it doesn't give him a confidence boost.
No, well, obviously now he's throwing more interceptions.
But does he deserve it? I don't think Dak deserves it. He screwed over his team a couple times with very, very poor play.
We'll see what happens.
I think it's going to be interesting. The Cowboys should at least be the number 2 seed in their own division. They're not worse than the Giants. They're for sure not worse than the Commanders. Do I think that they could compete against the Eagles? And the Eagles have, Super Bowl hangover, and they take a decent step back. I'm not saying they win under 10 games, but they take a step back from being, 13-4, 14-3, and they win 11, 10 games maybe. I think they're going to win more than 11 games, maybe 12. But
they've been winning 12. Haven't they been winning, averaging 12 wins a year under Mike McCarthy?
The Cowboys, no, they were doing this first year. I think he went 6-10. But the past couple, I think the past couple seasons though, he's winning 12.
Yeah,
but I'm saying if we're talking about the Eagles, I do think they're going to take maybe 1/2 step back. They lost their OC in DC. It's Super Bowl hangover. You just made it. I understand you lost it, but the idea of getting
they're going to lose to the Patriots on week 1.
Yeah, I think you're crazy for that. Are you putting some money on that game?
No, I'll be watching though.
So yeah, no, I do think the Cowboys could compete with the Eagles, and for how the NFC looks, beating the Eagles out for the number 1 spot in the NFC East could be the number 1 seed in the entire NFC. So it could be both NFC East title and NFC title there. If we're talking about the number 1 seed, and the Cowboys had that type of talent, but the question is though, Mike McCarthy could drop the best play. If Dak Prescott can't execute it, it's a throwaway. It's pointless because you don't have the players that can execute. It could be the best scripted play in the history of the NFL. But if Dak Prescott throws an interception by 15 yards, you can't put that on Mike McCarthy. So that's what I'm saying. Just put a little bit more respect on Mike McCarthy's name. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.